What's up, guys? Derek from Team Infamous here. We're just checking in to give you guys a little update about what's going on so far. It's been a while since we made a video. Currently, the engine is at the machine shop getting built. We've got everything lined out for that. I'll kind of explain more of that when we get the engine back on what's going on with there. We've got a couple new partners coming into play, and a great engine setup is going to come out of this. It's going to be able to hold probably way more power than we can afford to put into it. As of right now, though, we do have a lot of things going on. With the engine still at the machine shop, Corey and I are going to throw together this mock-up block that our buddy Devin let us borrow. We're going to put all the ISR mounts and all the new parts that we got from them on it. We're going to get the new transmission put in the car. There are some modifications that we're going to have to make to the transmission tunnel. So we're going to get everything mocked up, make a transmission mount bracket. We're going to get the transmission tunnel modified so we can get everything in place. We have to run these new SFI shift boots. So we're going to get the new shift boot installed. We got to build a bracket to really mount it into place because it didn't really come with anything for that for some reason. We're unsure on what we're going to do with the differential for right now. So far, the budget's leaning towards trying to get like a couple of 350Z diffs with a couple of different gear ratios. But right now, we got a bunch of new parts that we just got from ISR Performance. They're one of our best partners. We've been together for several years now. They gave us quite a few good stuff, and we've got some stuff coming in from Fuel Lab Fuel Systems. They're really coming in clutch and getting us a good fuel pump this year to support the power. And but let's go over some of the new parts that we got this year. Okay, to start things out, we've got the ISR Performance V2 handbrake. It's paired together with a Willwood master cylinder that's going to go super well with our Z32 calipers. We're putting it all together with a set of Project Neo brake pads. They've got great stopping power, and they'll pretty much stop anything, even the old emergency brake cables on your 89 hatchback. I had some on my old car, and they were absolutely amazing. So we're definitely not going to have any issues with the handbrake locking up this year, and I'm very, very excited to run them together. We're also doing a Z32 upgrade with Hawk brake pads up front. That's really going to help us out with left foot braking and tandem and getting through the long stretches of the track. And I'm glad we're finally doing the upgrade to have some bigger brakes in the front and in the back. It's going to really help us out. For our engine mount set, we are going with the ISR Performance engine mounts. They're made out of a real solid 1/4-inch plate steel. They've got polyurethane bushing, and they've got some adjustability there to move the engine forward and backwards. So it's going to really be able to help us dial in exactly where we need the engine to be. Underneath it, we got I believe it's an 8-quart Ken Racing oil pan. They've got some good baffling in there to make sure the oil doesn't slosh around, make sure we've always got oil in the pickup. They also hooked us up with a oil filter relocation kit and everything we need to make sure that we're good to go all the time. Thank you, ISR, for helping us out with that one as well. Next, we've got ISR's full exhaust setup. They've got these high ground clearance headers that you guys have been seeing all over the internet. It's a little bit different than what a lot of the other manufacturers are running. These keep it very tight up to the chassis, and obviously I'm very far away from the ground, which people with low cars like us need. They've also got a Y-pipe for the LS swap, which is super convenient. It's really hard to find with certain kits, and they've got a kit that does everything from front to back. You can still have your straight pipe. You can go with the muffler setup. Just depends really what you want to do. For me, I just went with the classic set of blast pipes that you've had forever and ever from these guys, and they knock it out of the park. Everything looks great, and it's going to perform just as well. And last but definitely not least, we've got a GSR G-Force 4-speed Dogbox. I'm very excited to have this one. I really could not tell you. Can't explain how happy I am to finally have one of these. I've had a stock D56 for the last 2 years. I've had second gear missing for 2 of those 3 years of driving the car. And as soon as we fixed it, reverse went out. I had nothing but problems with the stock transmission, and I'm so excited to finally be in a Dogbox with a very strong setup. Rick from Race Tech Services put this together. It's a full remanufactured box, solid gear ratios, just like all the big dogs running Pro 1. He helped us get us hooked up with a QuickTime bell housing, because now we have to have a SFI certified bell housing, and if they don't make one for your car, a massive thick plate of steel to make up the difference. So I'm super excited to have this on. We got a slave cylinder to go with our ACT twin disc that we're going to be running this year, and we are going to have absolutely no problems in the transmission area, and I could not be more excited about it.
So I know this seems like that these are a lot of drastic changes that are happening on this off season, but I promise you they are needed. Everything that we're doing um, is needed to help the program. We're investing a lot of time and a lot of money in the program in this off season because everything that we had for the last few years has just been old. I mean, heck, most of it was used when I got it. I mean, the engine had 100,000 miles on it when I got it, and then it went from stock to being cammed with heads and then boosted. And I mean, it was time, you know. This year we're going with the 6.2 engine, an LS3, and it's got a full forged rotating assembly. And we're going to go with a bigger supercharger that's capable of more power and more fuel. And like I said, we had transmission issues in the last few years, you know, whether it be, you know, the first 2 years of the car, I broke second and drove for 2 years like that. And as soon as we fixed it, reverse went out and we had to fix it again. And then, for example, when we were at Road Atlanta, going down the hill was great, coming back up the hill was great, and in the keyhole it was such a slow down section that realistically you had to downshift. And I don't know what was going on with my T56 that I thought was in good shape at this point. I would try to downshift from fourth to third and it would basically go into la la land. I felt like it was going into gear and it sounded like it was going into gear, but as soon as I dropped the clutch it was like nothing was there. So in this section where I should be in third and maybe some people were even in second, I had to keep it in fourth and kick the clutch all the way through the keyhole. It didn't sound good, it didn't look good, and the judges noticed it. It just had to change. I mean, we were looking at a side shift Dogbox, but with the money that we were going to invest in a side shift and the uncomfortableness of the side shift being way close to you, and it didn't make sense. And then this popped up for $1,000 more. You know, if you want to put it into a cost of fab work, I would have had to have paid someone to rebuild the whole side of that transmission tunnel because I'm not a fabricator. And in this case, all you have to do is cut out a little bit of the top of the trans tunnel and rebuild. That's something I can do. I mean, that's a lot of money worth of savings right there. So we just thought, invest it into a better box and it'll pay off in the long run. Another thing, ISR is hooking us up with this new handbrake and it's really coming at a perfect time. Last year we had some issues with the handbrake. I don't know if it was the handbrake's issue or the handbrake's fault, if it was the caliper's fault, unbled lines that just happened to get air in them somehow or another. The pads were not working like they should. I don't know, but it cost us qualifying in Texas. My handbrake was so spongy and it was inconsistent all day. I had to have my spotter tell me before every lap, hey, don't forget to pump up your handbrake. Don't forget to pump up your handbrake. And at the first run, I pumped it up, it worked well. I ended up gripping up in the back section, my fault, you know, it is what it is. My second lap, I forgot to put my headset in and my spotter telling me to pump up my handbrake and me being in the zone and just trying to make sure I lay down a good run. I forgot to put my headset back in and I was just ready to go, didn't even think about pumping the handbrake. So I took off, get down the front straight, grab the handbrake, nothing happens, barely slows me down at all. So this couldn't have come at a more perfect time. And that's why we did the pads upgrade as well. And if we do have any problems with aeration in the brake lines or anything that might cause an issue, hopefully the Mu pads will help bring us home as well. And Juku gave us those at a great deal. And I've loved them forever. I mean, they're great. They really are. And the engine, like I said, it was a 100,000 mile engine. It was time. You know, it still ran amazing. You know, I didn't have issues with it. But it had a old wiring harness that I'd got secondhand and had gone through just to get rid of the useless wires. And we were still running on a factory PCM that was tuned by Shane Hines. And I mean, he did a great job. He held together that old engine, so no complaints there whatsoever. But this year, we're teaming up with Haltech and we are going to be getting one of their good ECUs. We haven't bought it yet, so we can't really say which series we're going with yet. But we're finally gonna have an in-dash, so we'll have more than a water temp gauge, which is super stoked about that. So now I just got to learn how to use it all and figure it all out. But we'll have some real engine management. We'll be able to diagnose if we have any issues between runs, and we're finally going to make some real power. We went out with this LSA supercharger last year. It's just factory stock GM from a CTSV. Cranked the boost up 3 PSI over stock, and it just didn't cut it, you know? At the beginning of the year, it seemed like it was a lot. But when it got into the nitty gritty and then the super gripped up tracks and tires and everything, it just wasn't doing it, you know. And There are some guys that are doing really well in the same horsepower range as me, the 500 to 550 range, but more of the successful people were making over 600 horsepower, and that's really where we need to be if we want to line ourselves up for success. You can't go out there with a handicap right off the bat and expect to go win some competitions. So we're really going to dial in this new engine. We're undecided on a power header right now. We're off looking at some side mount superchargers, and then we're looking at some roots mount superchargers. We're working on a partnership with a couple of companies right now, trying to dial some stuff in and really just trying to make sure we can make as much horsepower as possible. We called out that we were going to make 1,000 horsepower. Everything is lining up, except for one of our supercharger deals that we had going down, kind of slipped through the cracks due to some timing issues. So it's a bummer, and we hope to work with them in the future for sure. But right now we're just trying to line it up and scramble things back together and find a way to make some good power and keep it reliable while we're doing it. So if anybody hears of anything and a good deal, let me know. But bottom line, we're really just trying to pick things up this year. We've got an entirely new team this year. My team last year was amazing. They made a lot of sacrifices, but they just couldn't do it again this year, a lot of them. Some of them are coming back. Sam Reeves and Sam Wisman are coming back. Reeves is a great pit guy. He does anything you ask him, grunt work, you name it, he's doing it. Heck, you don't even have to ask him half the time. Sam Wisman spotted for me in Texas last year, did a phenomenal job. He does the perfect amount of telling you what to do and hyping you up at the same time. I'm super excited to have him doing that. Like I said, he did an amazing job. I think he's going to do an even better job this year after having some experience under his belt. We've got Austin Scott on with us this year. He's been around drifting a long time. He's a good driver, and he's built all of his own cars, so I'm super excited to have him on board with us as well. One of my good friends, Michael Lacoste, he's built several 240s. He's into BMWs now. He's got the idea with everything, and he's a super hard worker as well. So great asset for sure as well. Another great one, he helped me out a lot last year. Ben Martin is one of my best friends. He is a great dude. He will do literally anything for anyone. He's a fabricator, and he's one of the first people to hop on a job, whether you ask him to or not. So he's another person that's really going to tie this team together and do an awesome job. And to tie it all together, my number one support system, my top dog, my manager, my mentor, everything. My dad is my crew chief, and he probably always will be. He does an awesome job as a support guy. He does anything for me. He drives my rig to the track if I need to. He's my co-pilot, and we trade off when it comes to driving to places. I mean, we go to SEMA together. We go to PRI together, and I really couldn't think anybody better to be my crew chief. He doesn't think he does a good job, doesn't think he should do it, but really, there's nobody better that should be doing it besides him. So I'm very excited with the team we're going to be bringing throughout the States this year. We start out in Orlando at the end of May. We've got that track figured out. We had a lot of learning to do last year, but I think we really dialed it in at the end of the year. I'm very excited to go back there. That track is sick. It's so much fun to drive. That wall ride is terrifying, and I love it. Back in St. Louis, I love St. Louis. It's my hometown. All my boys are there. Everybody's watching. The track's pretty fun. I'm incredibly stoked to go to Englishtown, New Jersey. I'm excited to try out the new track that they have built. It's kind of a stadium drifting style, and it looks like it's gonna be super rad. And then of course on Sunday they've got the Pro Bro down where all the pro guys drive with all the grassroots guys, and that is going to be a blast to drive. Another staple track for drifting in the United States is Sonoma. It's a great track. I mean, it's a beautiful venue, and it just looks like an absolute blast to drive. Of course, we're going to do some tourist stuff along the way, and we're going to have a good time doing it. So really, this year is really looking up. I'm excited as hell to get everything together, to get some new horsepower numbers in here, hopefully crank into the 4 digits. That'd be sweet. But really just dial the team in, learn some more, and spend some more money. Hopefully next video we'll get everything together. We'll get these parts in this car. If you're still watching, I really appreciate it, and I really look forward to you guys tell me what you think of the new build, and I look forward to getting all this stuff mocked up and getting it all in. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.